Well, across the East African region, there's a lot of business happening. Not only in Kenya, but when you look at countries like Rwanda, Tanzania, as well, the DRC, which has been in the news mainly not because of a lot of business though, but because of political issues regarding the crisis with the M23 rebels and how they're going to be able to deal with them. But before we go into that, just to quickly remind you, we only left with around 40 minutes before the markets on Zabu do open. So for you who already started off your investment journey, well, at 8:15 a.m., you can still invest again. You can use that time to start off your investment this particular morning. At the time when you're still home or when you've just opened up your business and you're yet to get any client, you can use it to dial *292#. That is for the MTN subscribers. What you do is after that you will be ushered into the Zabu home, and then you will definitely follow the prompts. How you do so is if you have no account with Zabu yet, you can use your NIN to register with one, and after you're done registering, you will not be able to invest today, but however in the next 24 hours, of which that will be tomorrow, you will be able to invest in government bonds. Those markets open at 8:15 a.m. every day and close at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. The only time they are not open, so I was actually supposed to remind you that they are open from Monday to Friday. So the only times these markets are closed is weekends and public holidays. But kickstart of your investment journey. It will be something that you would be very proud of. And of course, we turn our eyes to Kenya with KARIBU East Africa. Kenya's best and worst paying sectors have been revealed. This is courtesy of the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, which released data, and it showed that 39.6% of the employees in the two sectors, that is insurance and the financial sectors, because according to the highest proportion of Kenyans, there was a report that was released that the number of Kenyans has increased. The Kenyans who are receiving over 100,000 Ugandan shillings. Kenyans who earn 100,000 Kenyan shillings, rather, almost said 100 shillings. So that is roughly 3 million Ugandan shillings and above. If you look at the amount of Kenyans that have actually, the highest proportion of Kenyans earning more than 100,000 Ugandan shilling, 100,000 Kenyan shillings, is working in the financial and insurance sectors, pointing to an economy with few well-paying jobs and high unemployment rates. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics data released last week showed that 39.6% of the employees in the two sectors, which include banks and insurance firms, earned over 100,000 per month last year. And then the lenders and underwriters have a combined workforce of 77,754, out of which about 30,787 are top earners. Now, the average salary in the country during the period under review was 69,100 Kenyan shillings. So when you look at most of these particular sectors in Kenya, banking and insurance, the mere fact that most of the people employed there last month earned more than 100,000 Kenyan shillings. Now, with the current trade rate of around 31 Ugandan shillings, if you are to get yourself, if you are to exchange to Ugandan shillings, you get to realize it's around 30 to 31 Ugandan shillings. Now, apparently, if you are to look at that, you get to realize that out of this, from the banking sector and insurance firms, these Kenyan employees are earning roughly 3 million and above Ugandan shillings. Because from the other exchange rate is the fact that 100,000 will be heading to Kenyan shillings. Now, if you turn it into Ugandan shillings, that will be around 3 million Ugandan shillings or 3.1 million Ugandan shillings, in that same range. So we are highly expecting that in the banking sector or in the financial sector, in insurance, banks and all that, most of the Kenyans are earning in the region of 3 million, 4 million Ugandan shillings, 5 million Ugandan shillings and beyond. So besides that same situation, also here, international organizations such as the United Nations are top pairs with 26.6% of the workers taking home a six-figure salary, that is in Kenyan shillings. 6 figures. So that means if someone who's working for some of those organizations in Kenya may be able to earn himself or herself 1 million Kenyan shillings below and beyond. That also depends on the kind of depends on the administrative shape up and which position you own in that space. Now, workers in the arts, entertainment, and recreation also enjoy competitive perks with slightly over a fifth or 1,902 in the exclusive club of top earners. Now, the data from the Kenya National Bureau of Standards also shows, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics rather, also shows that a fifth of 1,773 employees in water and sewage farms are in the top earners bracket. Now, out of the 2.9 million employed Kenyans, 310,884 earn above 100,000 Kenyan shillings monthly. And this is actually a caution that the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics has reminded people from the rising cost of living that is threatening to push a third of the middle class into poverty. Now, this represents 12.37% of the total workforce, which is a share that analysts recall nearly matches Kenya's consumption patterns. Now, last year, the number of workers earning over 100,000 did jump from 15% or 48,000 more than to 358,833. And of course, that is it from Kenya. As we move on now, Tanzania is set to host the AGRF, Africa's Food System Forum, in 2023. This was an announcement which was made by Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, and His Excellency Haile Mariam Desalegn, the chair of AGRF Partner Group, on the sidelines of the US-Africa Leaders Summit currently taking place in Washington, D.C. The AGRF, Africa's Food System Forum, is the premium platform for advancing the agriculture and food system agenda on the continent. From food security to agri-food investments, the annual summit convened leaders inclusive of policymakers, scientists, heads of government and private institutions, the farmers, the youth who are engaging in agriculture as well, and then scientists, policymakers, and quite a number of those who are also part of Africa's food security. And as these particular discussions are always centered about solutions to provide food security and also to make it better for different households within the continent. Now, the 2023 summit aspires to position Africa as a place of innovation, investment, and to advance it to a stronger, more diverse, and resilient food system. The summit will look to energize and spotlight continental progress beyond the call for aid. Now, the summit will also showcase Africa's solution to Africa's food systems transformation while spotlighting leadership, accountability, inclusion, and investment opportunities in Africa in general and in Tanzania in particular. Now, Tanzania will be the first country to host the AGRF summit since the forum was rebranded to Africa's Food Systems Forum in 2022 as a reflection of the partnership's ambition to move forward the transformation of Africa's food system and sustainable engagement year-round. Now, in her remarks, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan did welcome agriculture and food system experts, investors, and stakeholders from across Africa and beyond to Tanzania for the summit, and did emphasize the importance for Africa to lead on its food security for national and then furthermore on continental development. Among the key highlights from the President of Tanzania is that food security across Africa can collectively be attained if all parties join hands to advance localized solutions and drive prosperity for all, urging the youth to participate in agriculture as a key priority to enable faster growth of the continent's growth as well. So the AGRF 2023 builds on the AGRF 2022, which was hosted by the government of Rwanda in Kigali. The edition in Kigali was attended by more than 2,700 delegates in person, and over 4,000 of those did attend online. In 2023, the AGRF Secretariat and partners will build on conversation, arguments, and critical decisions that will actually create roadshows where leaders, farmers, and the youth will engage in actively to ensure that the call for food security and food safety in Africa is achieved. Lastly, from KARIBU East Africa, the International Monetary Fund has approved $319 million of climate financing for Rwanda. This is something that is coming in from a situation where Rwanda is set to finance projects tackling climate change, and with an approximate of 342 billion Rwandese franc, the 319 million US dollars will definitely be the money that the Rwandese government is set to use to address climate change. Now, the funding is secured under the Resilience and Sustainable Facility, an initiative that aims at helping low-income and vulnerable middle-income IMF member states longer-term structure challenges such as climate change with longer-term, low-cost financing. The development was initially announced in October when the International Monetary Fund mission in Rwanda concluded its visit. The loan is accompanied by a 36-month new policy coordination instrument, which is aimed at supporting the government to build on the progress in macroeconomic, fiscal, and financial reforms to deliver more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable growth. The RSF program will include the facilitation of green public investment, creating further physical space, mitigating financial risks, and strengthening public debt dynamics and prospective balance of payment stability. At the initial announcement, Uziel Ndajimana, who is the finance minister, said that this International Monetary Fund support is a catalytic fund which is highly expected to trigger more financing from other institutions, including the private sector. They are as well working well with the development partners in the area, but also in private financing, such as green bonds. Apparently, Rwanda has a climate action plan that will cost 11 billion US dollars. That is about 11.2 trillion. That is about 11.2 trillion Rwandese franc through 2030. Now, the cost for mitigation measures is estimated to be around 5.7 billion US dollars, while over 5.3 billion US dollars will go to adaptation priorities. Now, while resources for Rwanda's climate action plan continue to be mobilized, Ndajimana disclosed that the remaining gap stands at about 7 billion US dollars of the needed amount to look at how they're going to be able to address climate change. Now, that is it for KARIBU East Africa. Let's cross our eyes to the international scene to see what is making headlines from that space. Now, the International Monetary Fund also here in Ghana have agreed on a $3 billion financing deal. Ghana is facing some challenges with dealing with its economy. Now, Ghana has reached an agreement with the IMF on a $3 billion bailout loan. The IMF did announce this on Tuesday as the country faces a severe economic crisis, which was almost going to lead to the resignation of the finance minister. Already burdened by high debt, Ghana is facing historical inflation of more than 40% and the collapse in its value of the Ghanaian cedi. The economic difficulties exacerbated since the Russia invasion of Ukraine. But also, according to Stephen Rudet, the chief in Ghana, the IMF chief in Ghana, said that he's pleased to announce that IMF team and the Ghanaian government have reached an agreement on a 3-year program under the extended credit facility in the amount of 3 billion US dollars. Now, the loan aims to restore macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability while laying the foundation of stronger and more inclusive growth. The agreement must now be approved by the IMF Executive Board in Washington. That is according to the IMF chief in Ghana, Stephen Rudet. Now, Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo has come under fire for his handling of the economic crisis and in particular for seeking IMF assistance, having once promised a Ghana without aid. Many Ghanaians fear that with this agreement, the government will later on be forced to impose austerity measures that will further burden the population, which is already facing soaring prices. Ghana is a major producer of cocoa and gold and has oil and gas reserves, but its debt service payments have skyrocketed abruptly. And like the rest of sub-Saharan Africa, it has been hit hard by the consequences of the global pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Ghana in there still facing some huge economic pressures, which was made actually more worse and exacerbated by the Russia invasion over Ukraine. Let's head to the United Nations, which has said that the global trade is expected to reach a record of $32 trillion as of the end of this very year. We're only left with 2 weeks to actually say goodbye to the year 2022, but the global trade volume will reach a record level of about $32 trillion in 2022. That is according to a report published by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development on Tuesday. The value of global trade is set to reach a new record this year, increasing by about 12% to an estimated $32 trillion, according to a UN report that signaled a slowdown heading into 2023. Now, the substantial trade growth during the last year was largely due to increase in the value of the trade of energy products, according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. Now, this was released in a report yesterday. Now, trade in merchandise goods soared to $25 trillion, an increase of about 10% versus that of the prior year. Trade in services also grew by 15% year-over-year to nearly $7 trillion, according to the report. The United Nations body expects that the inflation-adjusted value of global trade will diminish next year because of the combined impact of geopolitical frictions, lower economic growth, higher prices of goods, and record levels of global debt. Based on volumes, trade continues to increase throughout 2022, a signal of resilient global demand, according to the same report that stated. Now, still, weaker economic growth and inflation are likely to hamper international commerce in the year ahead, while the outlook for global trade remains uncertain as the negative factors appear to outweigh positive trends, according to the same report. So you can see, according to the United Nations, global trade is set to reach a record high of $32 trillion by the end of 2022, and also they do think that there will be a 12% increase of the same prior to what happened last year before we hit 2022 on the road. Is that a huge signal of the fact that economies will be able to withstand economic pressures next year? We'll wait and see. And lastly, from the international scene, let's see what is coming in from China, as there is a report saying that China is preparing a $143 billion package for its chip farms in face of the United States restrictions. So they are working on a more than 1 trillion yuan, that's approximately $143 billion support package for its semiconductor industry, according to what 3 sources have revealed. In a major step towards self-sufficiency in chips and to counter US moves aimed at slowing its technological advances, Beijing plans to roll out what will be one of its biggest physical incentives packages over 5 years. Now, mainly all subsidies and tax credits are set to bolster semiconductor production and research activities at home, according to various sources. It does signal that, as analysts have expected, a more direct approach by China in shaping the future of an industry which has become a geopolitical hot button due to soaring demand for chips, and which Beijing regards as a cornerstone for its technological might. The majority of the financial assistance would be used to subsidize the purchase of domestic semiconductor equipment by Chinese firms, mainly semiconductor fabrication plants or fabs, according to the statement. Now, also, such companies will be entitled to a 20% subsidy on the cost of purchase, the 3 sources further revealed. The physical support plan comes after the U.S. Commerce Department passed in October a sweeping set of regulations which could bar research labs and commercial data centers access to advanced AL chips, among other curbs. The United States has also been lobbying some of its partners, including Japan and the Netherlands, to tighten exports to China of equipment used to make semiconductors as well. Now, the US President Joe Biden in August did sign a landmark bill to provide $52.7 billion in grant for US semiconductor production and research, and also it was part of a tax credit for chip plants estimated to be worth around $24 billion. Now, with the incentive packet, Beijing does aim to step up support for Chinese chip firms to build, expand, as well as modernize domestic facilities for fabrication, assemble, package, and research development, according to various sources in there. Beijing's last plan also includes preferential tax policies for the country's semiconductor industry. China's State Council Information Office did not immediately respond to a request for a comment on that particular report. So that is it for the international outlets this morning, as you've definitely been able to see quickly what is happening across the globe from the world of business and where the business is and how anyone can easily position themselves into the business community globally. Well, with that, you as an individual can also step up and step out differently by doing something new. How possible is that? At 8:15 a.m., if you do have an MTN line with you, we can kickstart off this journey together. Dial star 292 hash, and definitely you'll be ushered into the Zabo world, the platform where you can invest in government bonds with a minimum of 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Well, the markets will be open at 8:15 a.m. They will only be closed at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. If you do not have an account yet with Zabo, you can open up one. Just put your name aside and kickstart off your investment journey. But well, besides that, before you even kickstart off your investment journey, yet for you to be reminded that by dialing star 292 hash is your being, you've already set a step into your investment journey. So it will be better for you to select a product or any bond that you choose to invest in. Zabo is a platform by Altex East Africa, and they are apparently telling you that my money is my future. The platform is only closed during weekends and during public holidays, but the rest of the days you are ready to invest, kickstart off your investment journey, and they will be able to start your investment with Zabo, a platform by Altex East Africa. Zabo says no hassle. You can easily invest in bonds and securities. Well, and let's kickstart off that journey together with the investment space. Don't just save for fun or for something. You can still save for a good cause by saving in for investment. But besides that, also to remind you that you can follow us on our social media platforms. Twitter is Smart24TV, Facebook Smart24TV Official, Instagram is Smart24_TV. Our website is www.smart24.tv, and also do remember we're streaming live on YouTube, Smart24TV Live. On mainstream, you can get us on GoTV channel 394, and DSTV is channel 372 as we continue to drive your business. It is almost clicking Christmas time. How prepared are you? And for you as a business person or a business-minded individual, how are you setting up to make some money, or are you already on your work leave, preparing for the festivities that are yet to arise in the next 1-2 weeks to go? Well, this is Smart Means Business, your daily Kickstarter. We'll be back at 8 a.m. with more of the latest in the world of business. Good morning.